much for logging in today and watching my first ever podcast. So sorry, we're trying to figure out this whole setup. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. That helps out so much. Leave comments down below. Don't be shy. Today, for my first podcast ever, I have here Sandi Gonzalez.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming into my first podcast ever. I'm excited. I'm so excited to start like this new podcast journey. So I hope you guys, follow through and see it, the evolution, I guess you could say, of Fran and Friends. So I'm excited. Thank you so much for coming in and doing the first podcast with us.
Absolutely. I'm so happy to be one of the first people on this podcast. So thank you for allowing me to be here and welcoming me into your world and your platform. So I'm excited.
Thank you. I'm excited too. So today we're pretty much going to talk about, I guess you could say, women empowerment in general, overall. And I think that's so much easier said than done, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
And I think so many women want to empower other women, but they don't even know how to empower themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're just going to touch base with that, really talk about that, see, kind of give us your perspective of it, your perspective of just your life journey. And I think everybody has a story to tell and everybody has something to give, even if it's, consejos.
Yes. Well, thank you. So my name is Sandi. I do live here in Florida, and I am very passionate. I have become very passionate about fitness and talking and just kind of showing women empowerment after coming back. I believe in comebacks. So I have this. I have a desire to inspire and motivate other women who have come from rough backgrounds, from being single mother and having the struggles of being able to financially support their children and giving them self-time and self-care.
So. Absolutely. So give us a little bit of background about yourself, kind of like your story, where it started.
Mm-hmm. So the reason why I'm so passionate is because about a couple of years ago, I came into a point of my life where I just hit complete rock bottom, a single mother of 2 children, and I didn't know what was left, what was right, and I was stuck.
Yeah,
I was
scary.
It is.
It's scary because it's hard already being a single mom of 1 and then 2.
Yeah, and I was already a single mom of my daughter, and then for my son's father, I ended up a single mother again, and I just felt total like a complete failure.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even in my control.
Right.
Of the reason why now we do this.
Right.
So at 26, 2 kids, moving back into my parents' home.
You felt like you had to start all over again.
I had nothing.
Yeah, I've been there, done that. Like at 20, and it's crazy because now you say at 26 I had to start over again, and you're like, well, I was so young, but at that time when that happens to you, I think you're so traumatized. You're like, fuck, like, excuse my French, blur that out, but because you can't curse on YouTube. But I feel like you think, damn, like I'm 25 or 26 or however old you are, and I have nothing to show for it, and you do. You do, because you grow so much, and I feel like sometimes you have to take 10 steps back to take 20 steps forward. Exactly. That's easier said than done, and it is hard to get to that level, to get to that point. But once you do, I feel like you kind of reinvent yourself because you know who you want to be, and you know where you want to be at, and you know wherever you were at 25 or 26 or however old you are, you don't want to be there ever again.
Exactly.
And it's hard to get there.
Absolutely, yeah.
So how did you do it? You basically, so the viewers know, you met another person, right? You got married, you had a second child, did not work out.
Exactly.
At all. And then you had to basically start from scratch again.
Yeah, pretty much.
How hard was that on you and your kids, and basically just having your whole lifestyle change?
It was very difficult, not only because the separation was already hard, but the cause of the separation during the time was a very traumatizing.
Very traumatic, yeah.
Yeah, it was very traumatic, and the transition did not just only affect me directly, but it affected the kids as well, and it changed our lifestyle in the process where we were having to go through legal processing, and they had to be involved. So During that time, I fell into a very deep depression, and I was just
felt like a failure to your kids too, which is the hardest.
And I think where I hit something where I realized,
or you snapped,
where it was like an aha moment, where everything was just completely going down the drain. I was contemplating suicide.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, one day, I was just like, I gotta get it together. Like, I have to figure this out. Because
were your parents supportive of the separation and all of that? How did that work? Sorry, guys, my dog's barking.
It's very, very hard for Hispanic parents to accept, you know, a transition, especially traditional parents.
Traditional, yeah.
First, it was already hard on them that I had gone through a separation as a single mom who was out of wedlock. And then they did support the marriage, and then
supported him, and then he turned out to be somebody who he wasn't.
Exactly.
And then you had to start all over again with two kids.
I mean, as supportive of parents get.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have something in my throat.
No, I totally get it, and it's hard. And even with me, again, not trying to make this about me, but just talking in general, I was with somebody for 7 years, and I was very financially stable. I was very financially comfortable. I would get Starbucks every single morning. Like, I was, you know, and then things didn't work out. And I remember my grandfather, I love him to death, you know, may he rest in peace. He's like, are you sure you really want to separate yourself from this person? Because regardless of the reason for the separation, it was like, you know, you are financially stable. And I think a lot of Latinos, especially, they're like, wow, look at all this money you have. Look at how financial, are you sure you want to do this? Because, you know, like, I tamala, like, are you sure you really want to? And I think it's a struggle because we're not in the 90s or the 80s or the 70s where we just look at men to be providers and to just work and bring the money home. We expect so much more from our partners. Like, I want a partner, I want a best friend, I want someone who's going to help me, someone who, and I get it with any relationship. I think it's the fact that sometimes you're tired. Sometimes relationships are supposed to be 50-50, and I agree with that to a certain extent. To me, I think relationships are 100-100. And with that being said, some days you're going to have bad days, and you're going to need your partner to pull their weight and, you know, go 80 one day, and then you go 20%, and vice versa. And I'm okay with doing that. I have no problem helping my partner, giving them a helping hand at any time and point. But I expect the same thing from them. And I think with our parents, it was like, oh, well, you know, they make money, you know, they're not perfect. But how many times are you going to make an excuse with someone? Like, for example, with me and my ex, the reason that we broke up, he was talking to somebody else, and I caught him talking to somebody else. He swears that he didn't actually, like, cheat on me. They never, like, had intercourse or whatever, but I don't care. That's beside the point. If they did or didn't, which he swears they didn't, I ended up talking to the girl, she swears they didn't, that's beside the point, which is a whole 7-part story time, which is one day I'm going to be on YouTube. But that's beside the point. The point of that is the fact that you betrayed my trust. I can't be with somebody that I don't trust. And I think, especially with my grandfather, you know, he really liked them. They got along great. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, because I'm not going to be happy, 100% happy with you 20, 30 years from now. And I can't count on you to be there for me, to be my support system when you're doing this to me.
Exactly. Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's hard. It's really hard to go through all these things, and then why empowerment is, again, very important and I'm very passionate about is because, you know, for a woman to get themselves up again,
and with kids. Because one thing is being depressed and being single, and it sucks. Depression sucks for anybody, any man, any woman. Depression is a very dark place that you just mentally get yourself in, and it can be a chemical imbalance, or it can be by your situation. I feel like I've been depressed. We've all been a little depressed. We've all gone through that.
We went through 2020. Like,
you know,
2020 was so
insane. It was crazy. I lost my grandfather.
I lost a lot of people too.
I think 2019 for me was a very trial like testing year for me.
Going on in the world.
I know, but slowly but surely, I think people are getting back, and I think a lot of people they kind of like became butterflies, and they had the opportunity to use 2020 to be who they really wanted to be.
Yes, I see that too.
Because it was either this or what, you're going to continue living the same way that you lived it back in the years, and that hasn't been working for so many people. But I think one thing is being depressed, being a single woman. I think it's a whole nother thing being depressed with 2 kids. I think that's a whole different ball game, and it's a
yeah, definitely.
Because you're depressed, you're in your feelings, but at the same time you don't have the luxury to stop being a mom at any time and point.
Yeah, absolutely, you're right. Yeah.
How did you juggle all of that? How did you juggle depression and still getting up, putting a smile on your face, and like?
Well, what I came to a realization was I got to a point where it got too much. You know, once you or start thinking like, yo, you don't want to be part of this world, and you're having these kind of thoughts, you start kind of like you gotta like realize like I need to figure out why I'm feeling this way. So I learned that during that time, my spirituality, my mentality, and my physicality were all whack.
Okay.
So like my spirit wasn't right because I was hurt, because I was betrayed.
Right.
And I was filled with anger during that process. So I needed to heal that. I needed to be able to identify and feel exactly why I was in this state. Because depression is a state. It's a state of mentality. And as I support, mental health, because I worked 8 years in mental health and substance abuse, and I've seen a lot of people with depression, and what I have come to understand is that if we allow the environment to affect us, then we need to figure out how we can change our environment for our good.
Right.
So I started seeing that my spirituality was not in check, my mentality, like what was I listening to? I was listening.
You think that had an effect to you?
Dude, like 2020 was so terrible. Like the more news you watch during that time, I don't know if you realize,
the more depressed you got.
The more depressed you got,
in the
anxious, exactly, death. You're hearing about these stories. You're hearing about, and I'm not saying that news being updated on your news is not a good thing to do, but like it can't be everything you're listening to.
Right, I agree.
So you
gotta have the balance.
Exactly. So I started listening to more motivational speeches in the morning. I started waking up earlier. So like I wake up at 4 a.m. Some people say
she wakes up at 4 a.m.
Yes.
More power to you, girl.
Everybody thinks I'm nuts.
No, but it's worth it. I feel like you have more time to yourself.
It is. It is so worth it. It was so life-changing because then that's when I started getting into fitness.
Okay. Yeah, because it's what you put in your body and what you put in your mind.
Exactly.
It's the same fuel.
Exactly. So once I started waking up earlier, I started fixing my mindset, my mentality. I wanted to be up and early. I wanted to be ahead of everyone that day by giving myself some self-care. So my self-care transitioned to my physicality, which was working out and going to the gym in the morning. And that changed, my habits in eating and everything that I do. So all of these things, I feel like you need to align first before you can start feeling empowered.
And I think too, it's easier said than done, but it comes down to the point where, what do you prefer? Talking to yourself, which sounds crazy, but it does help, especially when you're going through that depressive state. You have to talk to yourself. And you're like, talk to myself, that sounds crazy, but you are your own best friend. You can also be your worst enemy, and I think it's also switching up that mindset. And people are like, oh, well, that's a lot of work, just waking up so early. But sometimes you have to choose in life, well, what do you want to do? Do you really want to put yourself first and better yourself mentally? Or do you just prefer to be lazy, stay in bed? And I know it sounds so much easier said than done, but I think we're both coming from experience from this. And there are two different kinds of depression. I do feel like there's depression where your environment affects you so negatively, and there's also depression where it's a chemical imbalance. And listen, if you have depression and it's a chemical imbalance, don't be afraid to look for help. Don't be afraid to start taking medication, because some people need medication.
Exactly.
And there's no shame in that. There's nothing wrong with that. And if anybody tells you otherwise, then they don't want what's best for you.
Exactly. I mean, so at that point, once I started working on those 3 things, and I was able to start feeling more empowered, a little bit more confident.
How do you think you forgave your ex-husband, or do you think how did you work on your
spirituality?
Yeah.
So my spirituality, I had in the process and everything that happened, I did question my belief in God. So
like, why would he let this happen?
exactly. Like, why would I was just questioning on like, what did I do
To deserve that.
to deserve all of this? Like, why is this all happening? Because everything that happened was, again, very traumatizing, and not to go into details or anything, but it was very hard to understand. And life gives you that. Like, I feel like life does gives you that. Like, people, now that I come out of that journey and that hurt and that pain and that anger, I have met other women and other people who have their own story. Everybody has their own story. During that time, I did question my belief in God, and
you were angry. I bet you're like, why me? Why me out of everybody?
But you know, you get to a point where you could only be angry so much, and then you have to. Everybody has to believe in something,
right?
And
you have to break out of it.
Exactly. Like, you have to have a purpose. I feel like us as human beings, we want to have a purpose, and we want to know that purpose. Right. And when something traumatic happens, then you start questioning, you know, why you're even here. So I started going back to church. I started reading my scriptures, started meditating. I started learning about law of attraction. I don't know if you know about
manifestation, all of that.
All of this. I started trying to understand my spirituality, what
you wanted, where you wanted to be, who you wanted to be.
Exactly. And
I think, not to cut you off or anything, I think it happens to everybody. Everyone's like, why me? Why me? Sometimes we need for bad things to happen to us to kind of rebuild ourselves.
Exactly.
Like me and my ex, we broke up. We were together for 7 years, and today I am so thankful and so blessed we broke up, because the person I am now, I love her, and the person I was back then, I liked her, but I feel like I had to go through that and take 20 steps back to take 30 steps forward. Like, now I don't need anything from anybody. I'm extremely happy. I know what I want in life. And I feel like when you're in a certain situation where you're content and it's bad to be too content in life. And just be like staggered, like just water in a bucket, like no movement, no nothing. It's bad because you kind of lose yourself and you're like, what do I want in life? And sometimes you need to be broken down and you need to be torn down. Sometimes you need to tear up an old house to build a freaking mansion on. And that's just how I kind of see it. And it was such a blessing in disguise, and I'm so fucking thankful and happy. Now, when we did break up, I went a little crazy, and I think everybody goes through that.
I think we all,
because you get so angry at the other person. You're like, I don't deserve that. I'm an amazing person. I didn't do anything wrong. I never messed up. So why does it happen to me? And sometimes you just gotta be like, hey, I'm actually thankful now that it did happen to me. Because wow, like, what a difference. And like, I know 5 years ago you couldn't see yourself where you are today.
Definitely not. I definitely did not see me.
And you're so happy and content with yourself, and you know, the whole depression thing and women empowering and just empowering. You have to empower yourself to be able to empower other people.
To empower, the definition of empower is to give someone authority. And in order for us to be empowered, to empower others, in order for us to empower others, we have to already have that power of authority. So I can't empower someone if I don't feel.
If you're depressed, if you're sad, if you feel fat, like you can't do that if you don't feel good about yourself. Not fat, like nothing wrong with being fat, you guys. Hey, you know. But I'm saying in general, you can't empower other people without you actually feeling happy with who you are, and you can't.
Or knowing who you are.
Knowing who you are. Yes, exactly.
So I feel like those 3 things that I identified for myself really helped me to empower myself by understanding like where I stood in those in those 3 things.
And friends too. I don't know if you want to touch base on this, but I think the people who you surround yourself with, your support system. Like, I have a great group of best friends support system, and we always egg each other on to do better. And I think
love women empowerment.
Yes, and it can be women empowerment sounds so scary and like such a big word, but it really isn't. It can be so easily as like, oh girl, like I don't know if I should dye my hair blonde, and like your friends like, do it.
No, I don't think it's just more of that. Like, I feel like when people hear women empowerment, people think like, oh, okay, here comes, you know,
feminism, and all the negative things that surround it, but it isn't.
It isn't, no.
And I feel like that's a misconception.
And you know, and women, you, my sisters, have been so hurt by how society makes us compete
with each other
and standards that you are suspicious now when
somebody wants to be a friend.
Yeah, when somebody wants to be a friend, or a group of women actually want to believe in you and genuinely cheer you on. Like, it's very suspicious. I agree. And it's hard.
And it is, and you're like, so why are you trying? And again, it goes back to having old friends from like I still have my friends from high school, which I love them, but in general, the whole friend situation, it is. I've had friends where I've been like, girl, where did you edit your picture? It looks so cute. What's the name of the app? And they've been like, oh, I don't remember. And I know they do. They remember. But they're so scared of somebody being better than them.
Yeah.
And being prettier than them and doing better than them. And instead of like, listen, my friends can go on vacation. Like, my friends can go here. My friends can go there. And I'm so happy and so proud of them because I love to see people grow. I love to see that. And that is so hard to find in other people.
Yeah.
And I get it. And I love who I am. And I'm so happy and thankful that they're reciprocal with me. But I feel like, especially nowadays, like, just women against women, like, you said you have a friend, you know, the same situation, she's pretty, and then, like, everybody, Andrea.
Oh, yes.
And it's just, no, I think it's so important to really empower one another. Like, why? What do you think? She's gonna take your man?
Yeah.
What do you think is gonna happen if she posts? What do you think is gonna happen if she gets the same app you get to edit pictures?
Yeah, and see, and I'm so
people like that. I'm sorry to cut you off. People like that, you need to cut out of your life.
Exactly.
And even though it hurts, you can keep them. You don't have to.
Real girlfriends are not like that.
And not just that. You don't have to fight with them. You don't have to hate them. You don't have to. You don't have to completely dismiss them from your life. But keep them at a distance. You can't be around anybody that's gonna cut your growth, or is gonna cut the ability that you have to progress as a person. And just be where you want to be in life. It's always going to be holding your back. And it can be friends. It can be a partner that's holding you back. If they're not for it, it's easier to cut ties now than when you're 40, 50, 60, 70 and you're, you know what I mean? You're not happy because you're like, what if?
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Yeah, definitely. You know, cutting ties, there's something... that I saw with gardening. My fiance loves to garden, and we grow our own vegetables and things like that in our garden. And he always, like, when he sees, like, for example, a tomato, we have cherry tomatoes, and he sees some of them that are like closed to some. Okay, so he sees the ones that are ripe, and if they're ripe, they are starting to go bad. Like, if they stay there longer, so he's always like reminding me, like, make sure you pick those. Because then if you don't pick those, the ones that are good and are still maturing, they can easily start getting decompensating, decaying, or attracting bugs.
Like, one bad apple makes the bunch
exactly
rotten.
And that's just a thing. When you don't cut off, take yourself away, you're from all that toxic energy, negativity, people who are just stuck. And it's okay. Their time is not like your time. You know, like, we're no one to judge. You know,
it's just not the time for them.
It's not their time, and we have to peacefully, like, respect that and, like, step away.
Yes. And that's so much easier said than done, and I get it. But you got to put yourself first, and not be selfish. Not be you don't have to be selfish. You just have to understand and learn, like,
exactly,
I gotta do what's best for my mental health, my mental state. Be okay where I am in life. So with you, you know, starting working out, spirituality. So what, you were living at home with your parents?
Yes, I did live with my parents a little while, and then, you know, I met my fiance. Well, my fiance and I have been friends since we were like 16. And during that time, you know, we started getting close. He started helping out more, and we ended up together. And, you know, now we are both very into fitness. We're also pushing out our own content right now. We are in the process of just kind of building ourselves as a brand, as a fitness brand, by showcasing our workouts and having our audience, our people, our mi gente out there just watching our transformation, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think I that's what makes me very excited about it. So Yeah.
For your fiance, how were you able to kind of let somebody else in your life and trust them, especially after the situation that you had with your ex?
So man, you asked me hard questions.
Yeah, like how no, because it's true. Like I feel like
No,
so many
I think
people are hurt, and it's so hard for them
trust again.
to trust again,
Yeah.
to open themselves, to allow themselves to possibly be hurt, because you cannot control other people's actions. You can only control your own, and you can only control how you react to other people.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
It is. So for a while, I was, okay. Learning to trust people again is very, very hard. And I don't know how others can do it, but I can say how it happened with me, and how I regained trust and to be with someone. And that was first of all, my fiance and I have been friends for 16 years.
And that kind of helped a lot.
That was a driving force.
Right.
I don't think if I would have had that history and knowing him, I don't think I would have allowed to myself to even open up for a relationship. And two, he understood he was very understanding.
Okay, good.
He understood.
That's hard. Yeah.
He understood, and because he went through the process with me.
Okay, so he was there as a friend.
He was there as a friend.
So that's good.
Yeah, so he was very aware of the situation. That definitely helped as well. And then I think the third thing was that he did everything to make me comfortable.
Okay. Yeah, and that's important.
And a reassurance. And it wasn't like took it negatively if I had questions or concerns.
He had answers.
Yeah.
He wasn't back offish. And that's another thing too. I feel like people will show you from the very beginning who they are, who they're willing to be for you. And girl, if you see red flags, run. Just run, bitch.
We call it what is it called?
Get out.
We say when people first meet, they're on their best behavior.
Yeah, they're trying to sell themselves to you.
Exactly.
And if they're already giving you red flags, then you can only
they can't keep that.
Respect.
When you meet someone and it feels perfect, chances are that it's not gonna be like that forever.
Right. Right, and it's also to understand it, because the same situation with me and my partner. Like I wasn't necessarily cheated on, but I just like, to me, just you talking to another person and you giving them that time of day, to me that counts like emotional cheating. And that just cuts down, because I'm a very trustful person. You can be extremely honest with me. Before I'm your partner, I'm your friend, and I think that's so important. And you can't sit here and you can't tell me that you love someone if you don't respect them. You need to have respect before love. You need to respect that person before you sit here and love them. So same thing with me and my partner. I was like, what about this? What about this? Every question that I had, every insecurity that I had, he had an answer for, and he was always there. Like, listen, girl, like, I get it. I understand what you've been through. Take your time. I'm here for you. No rush, no nothing. I mean, we ended up moving in together 30 days later, but that's not the point. I feel like too, when you know, you know.
Yeah, when you know, you know.
When you know, you know. But it's so important to have somebody that makes it easier for you. You don't want to rush into anything not being prepared, or kind of having what's that thing called, a rebound. We don't.
No, yeah, and that's
so he made it easier for you to trust
definitely.
him, and trust him around the kids and all of that. He was very good and open with both of them.
Yeah, so I mean, that's with trust, and people who are suffering from lack of trust. It's always good to have an understanding when you meet someone,
Right?
Because for them to know what the problem is, and if they want to stick around to deal with that with you, that's great. And then that's the person that genuinely wants to help you with that. But I'm just grateful that I had
that support system, because that was the last thing you would expect for him to step to the plate the way he did.
Oh, definitely.
And how did you start the whole gym thing? Tell me about that.
So the gym started in 2020, and
quarantine
time. Yes. So
I feel like people either got fat or got fit. No. I got fat.
I got fit. No, you know what it was? It was that
you were tired. I bet you were just tired of feeling unhealthy.
When COVID hit.
How much have you lost?
I've lost at least over 20 pounds.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So during COVID, when first COVID started, I was already overweight. I was already overweight. I was coming out of my depression.
Right.
I had worked on my spirituality, my mentality, and I was hitting my physicality.
Okay.
Right at the beginning of COVID. And, you know, we started staying at home a little more. My fiance got into gardening.
So that's mental. I love that. That's all mental and spiritual. Amazing. And you learn things and just going outside and working on it, touching the earth. I'm so I'm so like all about the vibes. Like when you just like touch Mother Earth and like the grounds, and I love all that.
Oh yeah,
like, go on the beach and you walk on the sand, like you feel re-energized.
Yeah, so he started gardening. We grow vegetables, and I just started like 10 minutes in my room. Like in my room, I would do like an ab exercise. I would look up a YouTuber.
Okay.
Do her little exercise. I think what's her name? Forgot her name, but
I started watching Bailey Sarian. When I started watching her, she had like 100,000.
Yeah.
On YouTube, and now she's like up to like 3 or 4 million.
Yeah.
And she does like murder mystery makeup. Like I would clean my house, like deep clean my house, like during COVID because I had nothing else to do and nothing else to clean. So I would like start cleaning like the closet, and like listen to her. And it's crazy, but you know you gotta find. I think everybody in 2020 found really like there's that.
Yeah.
It was either that or be depressed and sad and horrible.
Yeah, so then I started outgrowing my bedroom workouts, and I was like, you know what, I wanna see if I could live.
Stick to it.
No, I wanted to see if I could actually live. See, okay, live, girl.
Oh, live. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and squat and everything.
Okay.
Because I was just like, I got to a point where physically, I didn't just want to be mentally strong. I wanted to be physically strong. I'm not talking about I'm gonna be like Superwoman.
Right.
Yeah.
But also too, I think it's too like feeling comfortable in your own skin, and I know that's a whole nother fucking can of worms. I know that's a whole nother can of worms, but just being able to be like, okay, I'm gonna wear these jeans and I look good in the mirror. Like I feel good.
Exactly.
And that mentally takes a toll on you when you don't feel your best, and you physically like you're going up the stairs and you're like, I can't breathe. Like you don't feel your best.
Oh yeah.
You don't want to go. Yeah. You don't want to go out. You don't want to go.
Yeah,
you don't want to.
And I'm a mom, and I have a 4-year-old son, and he is the most energetic little being in this world.
And your daughter too. I think it's so important to give them that good example. Not causing body issues, not causing body image issues, not causing anything like that, but just being able to be like, wow, my mom goes to the gym. I'm gonna go to the gym. If my mom can do it, I can do it.
My son lifts little 5-pound weights.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
And that's great. Like he's burning energy, you know, he's being healthy, and I think that's so important. Like me and my mom, we do that. Like we egg each other on to be more healthier. Like she'll send me a picture of her dinner and she'll be having like a fish and a salad. And I'm like, look at my salad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's just feeding off that positive energy. Yeah. So you started in your bedroom.
So
slowly.
I did little workouts, little 5-10 minute workouts, and I was like, you know what? I'm ready to go to the gym. I want to start, pushing some weight around. And I started doing some workouts, watching some videos, and then I did training with Andrea, my very good friend. Andrea, she's a coach in wellness coach.
She also does YouTube, so plug in her YouTube, girl.
Oh yeah, yes. She's also in YouTube, so please check her out. She is freaking gorgeous and amazing, and she's just
she's beautiful on the inside and out.
Oh my gosh, she's just a whole vibe.
Yeah.
Okay, so I started training with her. I started seeing the results, and I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna go with it, and that's where I've been. And I started.
And it makes you happy too. Like I feel like working out gives you endorphins. Endorphins make you happy. And that's, I don't know how to explain it. When you're mentally happy, you are easier at like getting the negative out of your life.
Oh yeah. Because you're not really allowing it to manifest in you. You don't have room for it.
I feel like you're so busy doing you and concentrating about you and doing your best self and becoming the person who you want to become and just being better. You're like, I don't need you in my life. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
Because people were also negative when they started seeing you, like, bettering yourself. You said some old friends were like...
Yeah, so, it's funny.
Which is not women empowerment at all. Totally the opposite.
No. It's not, and it's okay. Like I realized that it wasn't really the direct was towards me. It was direct towards themselves. You know, people who are negative on the internet. When I went public, I started getting really nasty messages.
Just for posting a video of you working out,
Yeah,
which
like,
mind boggles me. People are so like over, behind the keyboard. They're so like, how you call it, like feel so powerful.
Exactly.
They would never tell you half the stuff over your face, and they're like, they're miserable inside with their own life. To be quite honest, they really are.
And it's like, I started realizing, I'm like, it's okay. Like, I don't even get angry about it or get upset about it or get hurt. I just, I feel for the person because I'm like, yo, like that person must be dealing with some really.
They probably hate their lives. They're probably going through some other stuff.
Things that they right reflected off of themselves, and I don't have that energy.
Right. Same. Like, I don't have that negative spirit to be dealing with your negativity. Like, I don't want your spirit to intertwine with mine. Like, no, thank you.
Exactly.
And that is hard, too, because I feel like a lot of people, especially with me, I've always been scared of YouTube just because of the negative comments. And I'm like, you know what? Why?
Yeah, but
when you feel confident and when you feel good about yourself and you feel positive about yourself, I think whatever comment comes your way can affect you if you have a good foundation.
And that's where I go back to the spirituality, the mentality, and the physicality as to why I feel like if we have those three things aligned, we have a very strong mentality. I feel like those are the three component things to keep us going and for us to not give up on when things get rough.
And again, women empowerment is about just that. It's about empowering yourself to be able to empower other people.
Exactly.
Because if you don't empower yourself, there is no women empowerment. You can't empower other people.
Yeah, and it is our responsibility. Like, I feel like I was writing one day down my thoughts, and I started thinking like why it is so important for women to empower themselves, and it's because one, I started thinking like I have a daughter. As a woman, I want to be able to pass down my baton to her.
Right.
And have her have that foundation, so when she becomes a woman, she's empowered and she's able to pursue what she wants, and she's able to identify that competing with women is not a good thing to do, that she's here to build like something good
and be strong with herself.
Exactly.
And tú sabes, no que deje nadie que entre hablando bien en su vida. And that just means with herself, even with boys. Even with their little friends, you don't want someone to try and come in if she has a strong foundation and a strong kind of like wall, empowerment wall, where nobody can come in here and tell you anything that you don't be like, no.
And so I realized like that is the whole motive or the movement of women empowerment is for us to pass it down to other women when we see a woman struggling. So like if I see my friend having a hard time, I'm not going to just leave her. I'm going to go over her and show her like, hey, you can get out of this. But somebody did that for me. It was passed down to me.
Okay.
So now that it's passed down to me, I have to pass it down to someone.
Okay. So somebody helped you with your journey to start those.
Oh my God, yes.
Was it one person or many people?
Multiple powerful,
and a little bit
powerful women.
Right. I totally feel that. Because the same thing happened to me. I think it was everybody poniendo su gotica, like everybody, putting their droplet in the bucket of women empowerment to where if I didn't have them, I don't know if I would be here right now. You know what I mean? Exactly. So I think that's very important. It doesn't matter how small it might be, it's still a huge impact on somebody's life.
Exactly, because already as a woman, first of all, as a Latina woman, I've already have two things against me: my ethnicity and my gender. Because now I'm scared when it comes to the amount of income that a Latina woman can make in the competition out in the business world, in any kind of world, pretty much, or in the world. We make less than our counterparts. So, it is important that we don't compete with each other. Like, we already have enough to compete. Like, we're already competing with men. Like, now we're going to compete with ourselves.
With each other,
like it doesn't make sense. Like we're supposed to unite together, so we're able to break those glass ceilings, so we're able to hand it off to another generation. Look at what year we are in 2021, and we've finally had a female vice president.
I agree. Yeah.
You know, and it's like,
and whether you agree with whatever politics or not she's in, whatever, if Democrat, Republican, liberal,
not referring to
conservative, no, in general, like
as a woman,
as a woman,
woman. That's powerful.
Yeah,
because
and a woman of color, and especially being a woman of color. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, just, it's not just a woman; it's a woman also of color.
Yeah, and I just give her the props for being the first female. I really don't follow politics anymore.
Yeah, same.
So, no,
that's another story.
Yeah, that's another story.
That's another story for another day.
But yeah.
And even with that, I think also with women just having different genders and different backgrounds and different situations and different life experiences, I think we should still help one another. You know, still help one another, still be there for one another regardless of our background. Because we all, like, I'm so happy and thankful that I'm here in America, because I feel like if I would have been raised where I'm originally from, I wouldn't have, like, my best friend is Muslim.
Oh, wow.
And it just so happens that she's Muslim and she's gay. She's a lesbian. You know what I mean? So first of all, you even telling somebody that they're lesbian and they're Muslim, that's huge. And that is such a big impact that she had on her family and all the trauma. And I admire her. I think she's amazing because she had to overcome all of that trauma. Like, she's like, you know, this is who I am. It is what it is. I tried to hide who I was, but I can't hide it anymore. And basically, like, losing her family because her family doesn't support that because of religious beliefs.
I don't understand. Well, yeah.
It's sad. I could never say never, but I don't think I could ever do that to my child. Regardless of, as long as, listen, I don't care if my child is whatever they want to be, whoever they want to love. As long as they're a good person, that to me is what matters. And that to me is what counts.
Yes, that's a very...
You know, it's hard. Obviously, it's hard when your child isn't normal or doesn't follow the norm, but I don't care. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I mean? To be honest, and I've had conversations like that with my partner because he has a son, and I'm like, what if so-and-so gay? He's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, that's his personal issue. Like, I don't care who he sleeps with. Like, whoever makes him happy, you know? But unfortunately, not everybody thinks like that.
No.
And it's hard for her to be true to herself and then have her family get her back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's different because the life experience that she has are so different from mine. And I feel like if we would have never been in America, we probably wouldn't have... I would have never met somebody like that because America is such a huge melting pot of different cultures and languages. And
that it is.
Yeah, and backgrounds. And I feel like that is so important to help each other. And I think she can also empower so many people and so many women. And, you know, she has her own YouTube, by the way, as well. We can link them. You know, all the links, all the descriptions down below. And just having friends that are...
Exactly, yeah.
You know, even friends coming out. I have one also Latino friend. Wow, I have a lot of lesbian friends. It's okay. Doesn't matter. I still love you guys. But...
So, yeah, that is...
It's a lot. It's a lot.
That is... But that is the reason why it's so important.
Yes.
So important.
Because everybody's trauma is different. How do you see yourself continuing to support your family, your friends, just anybody, as far as women empowerment goes?
So,
what is the best advice you can give to somebody
for women empowerment? My best advice for a woman to empower herself is to set the groundings of belief on who she is
and who she wants to be too,
and who she wants to be,
and work on that. And then I think after that, everything's... And what do you do to the people that are like, oh my God, I'm just so tired, and all these excuses, and they're like, I don't want to.
You gotta identify that it's an excuse.
Yeah. There's always gonna be an excuse.
You know where change lies? Change lies when you become tired. When you get to the point where it's like,
you're tired of being tired.
Yeah, like,
I guess that's the best way.
So there's something funny that happens to me. Like, I'm a type of person that I'm like, I'm a big procrastinator. Oh my God. And sometimes I hate folding laundry and I hate doing it. Like, laundry is my worst chore in the house. And I don't know if I'm guilty of this. I don't want to admit this, but I'm guilty of this. I let it pile and pile and pile and pile and pile. And I'm like, in the back of my mind, I know that it's piling. I know at some point I'm going to have to get it done.
Right. And it's just worse on you. And girl, I'm the same way. Listen, I leave the laundry in the dryer and then I put it on 5 more minutes because it gets so wrinkly in there after like a couple of days. And I'm like, Okay. And then I'm like, but the way I see it is this: it's easy to eat 1 or 2 pancakes for breakfast.
Yeah.
It's not easy to eat 20 pancakes for breakfast.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I feel like you have to do it because you're messing
Moderation,
yourself up.
yeah.
Because I'm a procrastinator too, and I've done that shit with school.
Mhm.
With papers, I've spent like till 4 a.m. writing a 25-page paper, and I'm like, why do I do this to myself?
Yeah, when you had like all semester to write like
Yeah.
1 page a day.
A day, and you're
yeah.
like, oh, tomorrow. But I feel like it comes to the point too with maturity. I think you need to stop making excuses for yourself because you're only hurting yourself. You're not hurting your neighbor. You're not hurting your parents. You're not hurting your kids. You're hurting yourself, and you're setting yourself up for failure when you can be successful. Again, easier said than done, but I think it does take a lot to actually kind of see yourself, reflect what's wrong with you. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be, I'm not talking about physically. No, I'm not talking about physically, whatever. But I'm talking about internally.
Mm-hmm.
And what are you going to do to make it happen? I guess in Spanish, we have a saying that says, vista larga, pasos cortos, which it means you have a vision, you have a goal, and you have a vision. You just got to take baby steps to get there.
Oh, yes.
And continue it.
Yeah. Baby steps, little things, little moderations. Even
look where you are today.
And it started with 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm. It started with 10 minutes, and you had no idea where you were going to be today. But anyways, I think that was a good little episode, you guys. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys are still watching, you guys are awesome. I'm gonna put your Instagram and all of that down below, so you guys can follow her her journey.
Follow me on Instagram at strategically_Sandi with an I.
There you go. Yeah, and thank you guys for coming in. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment down below. Tell us your experience. Tell us what you guys think. Tell us any questions you guys might have. I will answer them. She will answer them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, thank you guys so much for logging in today. Thank you guys for listening.
Mi gente hermosa.
My first podcast, so hopefully you guys will see the evolution. Sandy's also going to help me with the evolution of our Fran and Friends podcast. And I'm excited because I think we have a lot of guests too.
Yes, I'm excited to be part of the project.
Yes.
And, little by little,
you guys, exactly. Paso corto. What is it? What did I say?
Vista larga,
pasos cortos. Well, thank you guys, and until next time, bye.
Bye.